What's up guys, my name is Gary Blackwood, welcome back to the vlog, a throwback to a session I played a couple of months ago here at the wonderful Hustler Casino in Los Angeles, heading to the table with $10,000 in chips, ready to battle, ready to rebuy if I need to. Really looking forward to the grind today. Starting off the day here with a PLO double board bomb pot hand. Spoiler alert, that's a sign of things to come later in the day. I've got a lovely ace, jack 6 single suited, making the nut straight and the nut flush, which is going to be good for 3/4 of the pot. I am really not great at PLO double board bomb pot hands, but who is? Onto our first no limit hand of the day. I am in the big blind with ace-8 of diamonds, no straddle for this hand, but the raise is going to come in from middle position to $60. The hijack is going to make the call, and I'm going to call out the big blind as well. 3 ways to the flop. It is a very nice 10-8-4 with 2 diamonds. Great start with a pair and the nut flush draw. Middle position is going to see bet for $100. The hijack makes the call, and I decide to raise it on up right here, right now. I make it $450 to go. The reason I do this is because middle position c-bets very aggressively in general, and the hijack is relatively short here. He's only got about $350 or so behind, so I just want to get it in versus the hijack. Middle position makes the fold. The hijack calls it off for around $450. We're gonna run it once here, and before I can even zoom in to see the run out, I have turned the nut flush. The board pairs on the river, but he can't beat my flush, and I am scooping in this very nice pot up over $800 after just 15 minutes here. It's a pretty good game, lots of straddles. One player has always been double straddling, and I don't want her to feel left out, so being the gentleman I am, I decide to stick on a double straddle myself when it's my turn. Under the gun is raised to $100 here. The middle blind makes the call, and I look down at ace-king offsuit. The poker gods rewarding me for my degeneracy here. I put in the squeeze to $450. Remember, this is a cap game, $1,500 maximum, and under the gun is going to cap the betting here by shoving all in for $1,500. Middle position thinks about it for a little while, but does, of course, get out of the way. I make the call. As always, I immediately ask my opponent once or twice. He says twice. I show my ace-king, and he shows his ace-king. We're still going to run it twice here, see if there's any pain for either player. But as expected, when both boards are finished, we're just chopping this one up. No luck with our ace-king there. Maybe this ace-jack suited will fare a little better. This time I'm in the straddle. The cutoff is raised it on up to $60. The middle blind makes the call, and I put in the squeeze to $300. The cutoff makes the call, as does the middle blind. The middle blind is a very loose goose indeed. We go 3 ways to the flop with almost $1,000 in there. It is king, queen 9 with 2 clubs and 1 spade. I've got a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw, but both these players are capable of connecting very well with this board, so multi-way I decide to check, and it checks all the way around. The turn is an offsuit 7. The middle blind now leads out for $500. I of course can't call. He's going to take this one down. Still up a few $100 for the day, but not trending the way I want. In the very next hand though, we're going to pick up another big suited ace. This time it's ace queen of hearts in the big blind. No straddle this hand, but there's been a raise and 2 calls before a very loose goose puts in the squeeze to $135. I am then going to put in the cold 4-bet to $425. Action is back on my opponent now, and he clicks it on me. He makes it $1,050 to go. Now, this looks like an easy fold, but this guy is a very, very loose goose, as mentioned. You're going to see lots of spots versus him later on today. I really don't love it, and I'd much rather he shoved himself. It's an easier call that way, but I decide that my hand is just a little bit too strong versus this specific player. Not a standard play versus the average opponent, but I decide to just go all in for $1,700 total. My opponent makes a pretty quick call. I turn my hand over. He tells me that he is ahead. Some players don't like to show their cards. They're a little bit superstitious. Running it once, looking for something to get excited about, but a very bricky run out here for my ace queen. And I end up losing to his pocket queens. This is going to send me down $1,500 on the nose for the day. Good thing I've got all those rebuy chips in my pocket. Now, ace-king hasn't worked. Ace-jack hasn't worked. Ace-queen hasn't worked. How about we try with the top boys, pocket aces? There have been a few limps from under the gun, middle position and cutoff before I put the price of poker on up to $140. Every limper is going to make the call. We're going 4 ways to the flop. It is ace-7 deuce with 2 clubs. Pretty decent flop here for my pocket aces, so I decide to c-bet for $300, around half pot. Under the gun is going to make the call, but the other 2 players fold. Heads up to the turn, it's an offsuit jack. Board a little bit scarier now that the straight gets there, but I decide to just move all in for $700. My opponent doesn't snap call, he doesn't snap fold, always a good sign. In the end, he sighs and calls it off. Again, running it once, the river is another jack. I show my aces, And I win. He can't beat it. This is going to send me up $430 for the day now. Ace is holding in a 4-way single raise pot that involves me going all in. Definitely a bit of run good there. This is also going to send the game short-handed for now. I'm really hoping it doesn't break. I'm hoping it can hang on. And next up, I'm on the button with 10-9 of hearts. I raise it on up to $60 because the straddle is still on. Our resident podcaster, Charlie Wilmuth, is going to put in the 3-bet from the middle blind. He makes it $270 to go. Action back on me, and I, of course, make the call. Heads up, we go to Queen, Jack 3 with 2 spades and 1 heart. My opponent's going to c-bet for $200. I've got an open-ended straight draw and a backdoor flush draw, so I, of course, make the call. The turn is the 5 of hearts to give me the straight draw and the flush draw. My opponent is going to bet again, this time for $400, and I flirt with the idea of shoving, but I decide to just call, see if we can get there for $400. To the river, it's an offsuit 9. I do technically improve here to third pair, and after a minute or so, my opponent moves all in for $950. Now, versus most players, this would just be a snap fold, but I know this player is absolutely capable of bluffing, so I am deciding whether or not I want to be a hero here with third pair. I really want to call. He's got hands like ace-10 and ace-king that will take this line, but in the end, I decide I don't want to be a hero with third pair. I just let my hand go. I ask him to show one time. He's not much of a shower, but he does oblige. He shows Queen, Jack of diamonds. What a relief. I didn't make the hero call there. Very quickly after this, I win a medium-sized pot with ace-king. Not a particularly interesting hand, but it is going to get me close to even again, swinging up and down all day today. We've got a bit of a gambly day today, which is probably explaining the swings, and one of the loose gooses has asked the table to oblige him in a round of PLO double board bomb pot hands. A very fun but somewhat expensive round for me. Without doing much wrong, I lose about $850 during the round. No exciting hands of note, just a couple of call fold spots that add up over a round of these bomb pots. Back to no limit we go again, and the big aces haven't been my friend today, but I pick up ace-king yet again, this time in the middle blind. The button is going to limp in for $40 because the double straddle is on here, and I am, of course, going to isolate. I make it $200 to go. The button thinks for a few seconds and makes the call. As he's doing so, he says donation. That's always a good sign. Heads up, we go to the flop. It is Jack 7-5 with 2 diamonds. I decide to c-bet for $175, see where I'm at. The turn is another Jack, and I decide to just check my hand, see if I can take it to showdown here. But the button has got other ideas. He bets out for $320. Despite him being a very loose goose, I decide to just let my hand go. And he turns over Queen 4 of spades. This is an absolute boss line by my opponent. I wish I'd just been a hero there and called him down with ace high. Not long later, I'm going to pick up another decent ace. This time I'm in the double straddle with ace-10 offsuit. It folds all the way around to the big blind, who's going to make the call, and the single straddle completes. I, of course, pop it on up. I make it $225 to go. The big blind folds, but the straddle calls. This is the guy who had Queen 4 of spades in the last hand. He now tells me that he's got his favorite hand of all time, so he has to call here. Heads up to the flop here, it is king 9-8 with 2 hearts. No pair for me, but a bunch of backdoor draws. I've learned my lesson c-betting too light versus this guy though, so when he checks to me, I just check it on back. The turn is the 7 of hearts, giving me a bunch of draws along with what might well be the last hand, and inevitably my opponent bets out now for $100. I decide against raising with all my draws. I want to let him bluff on a heart river or a straight completing river. I just call. Not a heart, not a straight completing river, it's a board pairing 8. He now bets out for $300. This guy loves to bluff. He's shown a bluff in the last hand. He's been showing bluffs all day, so I make a pretty quick call here with ace high. Now, he must be a blackjack player because his favorite hand is apparently 7-4 offsuit. The pain of folding one ace high and seeing a bluff, then calling another ace high mid showing bottom pair is unbelievably real. This is really frustrating, but hey, what can you do? One of the loose gooses at the table asks if we want to put in $100 and do a PLO flip. Me and 4 other players at the table agree, and I somehow win. I've got 10 deuce XX, which makes a full house, and I scoop in this $400 profit. A very loose, very gambly day so far today. I am here for it. Very first hand after the PLO flip, I'm in the double straddle with king queen offsuit. It folds all the way around to the middle blind, who's going to raise it on up to $200. Only I make the call. Not too deep here, but I decide against shoving or 3-betting my hand. Let's see a flop. A pretty good flop as well. It comes down queen 7 deuce with no flush draw. My opponent decides to c-bet here for $300. Big pot brewing here as I make the call. call. The turn is a full rainbow 5 and he bets again, this time for $430. He is absolutely blasting it in here, but I'm pretty sure he's bluffing his ass off. Ready to call it off on the river. It is a straight completing 6. Don't love all the straights getting there, but when he bets out for $700, I don't take too long to make the call versus this guy. He says queen, bad kicker, and he looks a little sheepish. So I just turn my hand over. My queen, good kicker, is enough to win and drag in this huge pot that is kind of escalated because I decided yet again to double straddle. Not enough time for me to count out my stack for the tracker though, because in the very next hand, I'm in the $20 straddle now with ace-jack offsuit. So many big aces today. Middle position is raised to $80. The small blind calls, the middle blind calls, and given the loose gooseness of the game today, I've got a very easy squeeze here. I make it $400 to go. The small blind is the guy from the last hand. He is going to call all in for $320 total. And the middle blind calls as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop here. It is queen 8-7, all clubs, not what I wanted at all. When it checks to me, I decide to just check it on back. The turn is the ace of clubs, 4 clubs on board, but at least I've made top pair. Middle blind is going to check again, and I decide to check as well. To the river, it's another queen. Unfortunately for me, middle blind is going to reach for chips, and he bets out for $285. He's the guy I had ace high versus earlier. It's very tempting to call, but I know he can value bet any club here and probably even a queen as well. So in the end, I decide to be disciplined and just lay down my hand. Middle blind, who bet out on the river, shows ace 5 of spades. This is so painful, and what's worse, the small blind can't beat it. If I had just called, I would be winning piles for the day, but it's still been a decent comeback. I finally got a chance to count my stack, and I see that I'm only stuck $170 for the day now. It was down about $2,300 or so at peak, so it's not too bad. All right, we are 3-ish hours into the session. 3 hours and 4 hours into the session. Nice. Really fun day. I've logged about 20 hands. Hopefully they'll make it in. The game has been really good. There have been a lot of doubles and triples, straddles and stuff like that. I have been involved in most of them, but I don't care today. It's been a really good game, and I'm happy to get involved. I made an ace high call, which I really like. And then the guy was value betting bottom pair, which then made me fold my top pair on the 4 flush board, because I was like, he's just got like the 4 of clubs or something. So I folded, and then he had worse for value. Pretty funny how that worked out. I wish that I had folded the first one and called the second one, but it's not to be. I am about even, down a couple of $100. I was down about 2,200 at peak, so really not complaining at all. Yeah, let's keep it going. I've got another 4 hours or so before I have to go play soccer tonight. Yeah, let's just keep going and see if we can win some money today. All right, back to the grind we go. It's been insane action so far, and I'm hoping that continues when I pick up pocket queens not long after getting back into my seat. I raise it on up to $50 from early position, and the small blind who I beat with my king queen earlier today is going to put in the re-raise. He makes it $200 to go. I am super happy to 4-bet here, of course. I instantly make it $600. Delighted that he's going to make the call, but he also only leaves himself about $400 or so behind. Heads up, we go to the flop. Please keep it clean, dealer. It is 9-6-4 with 2 hearts. Good as can be. When my opponent checks, I decide to just put them all in for the rest of it, and he makes a pretty quick call. Again, running at once, again, frantically zooming in on the board to see it come running hearts. I announce queen high flush, and he can't beat it. Really nice pot coming my way here. He tries to tell me later that he actually had pocket kings. Sorry, mate, I just don't believe you. This is going to send me up $840 for the day. Finally clearing the black. Let's kick on now and win some money. Next up, I play another pot versus the same guy as the last couple of hands. Most of the hands that you've seen today have been versus the same 2 guys. I'm on the button with king 10 of diamonds and raise it on up to $60. Action is on the straddle here, and he makes the call. Heads up, we go to the flop. It is king jack 10 rainbow. 2 pair on a very high, very connected board. Fuck your solvers. I decide to c-bet for $125. Basically a pot-sized c-bet. This is not going to scare away my opponent. He thinks for a few seconds, and he makes the call. To the turn we go. It's an annoying, straightening 9, and now he lead jams all in for $295. Really don't love it, but never folding versus this guy. I sigh, and I make the call. The river is a meaningless 7. Nothing changes, and the straddle turns over his cards. He's got queen 6 offsuit. That is a straight, and my 2 pair cannot beat it. This is a bit of a hit to my stack. It's been a very swingy day all in all. I actually spent the next 2 hours playing nothing but small, boring pots here and there before the straddle dies, and I decide to tap the table and head to the cashier, booking a small but relieving winning day of $600 in total. Alright troops, we are done. I won $730. The game was wild for the first couple hours today, really, really good fun, and then it kind of died a little bit. It was still very friendly, and the straddle was still on, but it got a lot tougher and a lot nittier. I won $730. I don't think I played my A game today, but I wasn't, you know, spewing my guts out or playing really badly or anything like that. Just not quite tip-top poker for myself today. I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the show. I'm going to play soccer now. And for all the Europeans watching, if you don't subscribe, I'm going to keep calling it soccer until you do. So do that for me if you could. Thanks very much for watching. Until next time, take it easy.